All systems go. Greetings, everyone. My name is Atterville, and welcome to my blind Let's Play of Paper Mario, a 3D turn-based RPG developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64 in 2001. This was the runner-up of the first ever voting gauntlet held on the server. Perfect, just enough space. And as this is a blind Let's Play, I apologize in advance for any silly mistakes or false assertions I'll make. My only knowledge of the game comes from the prologue and obtaining the action commands. My only knowledge of the game is in regards to the prologue up until obtaining the action commands. So technically, it's mostly blind. I'll be talking with most of these NPCs, by the way. That's how I like to play these RPGs. Especially with Paper Mario, seeing how much charm there is in seeing how charming the dialogue and world is. Seeing how charming the world and dialogue is. And my apologies for audio crackling. I'm afraid my computer isn't the best. The audio crackling that happened in the prologue will be resolved in post. Let's not delve into that, Oliver. Remember that for later. Yep, the final episode of Cyber Shadow will be coming out The final episode of Cyber Shadow will be released in a few days. Remember this too for later. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that, Proto-Toadswort? Are you sure about that, Proto-Toadswort? One thing I really like about the Paper Mario series is how it turns most, if not all, the Mario enemies into actual characters. Instead of simply enemies to deal with. Instead of simply enemies to dispatch. I know that Super Mario RPG did something similar, but to a far lesser extent. Foreshadowing several places we'll visit later in the game. It'll beat even faster soon enough. It'll beat even faster soon enough. I understand your anger, Oliver, but this isn't the best place for that. I would strongly advise supporting games like Bug Fables. It really needs more attention. Of course. In Mario games, peace never lasts. Bowser's new revamped castle. Bowser's new and revamped castle. Bowser's new and revamped castle. I like how they reincorporated the clown car into it. I like how they incorporated the clown car into it. A far more impressive kidnapping compared to RPG. Let's rumble, Bowser. I don't have action commands yet, so it's fairly straightforward. In that way, Jaden, this and RPG were ahead of their times. Were somewhat ahead of their times. I would say that this game, along with its contemporaries, codified their personalities. Oh goody, he has the Star Rod. To be honest, I thought the claw attack would deal 5 damage. He likely got ideas from Star Road. He likely got this idea from Star Road and RPG. I mean, there's nothing else we can do. We can't run. We can do nothing, but... F. Toasted. Welp, down he goes. Come on, Peach, you can jump out. You're only made of paper. Prologue, a plea from the stars. The 7 star spirits. It's always 7 or 8 of them. It's always 7 or 8 of them. It's always 7 or 8 of them. Sometimes it's 5 or 6. Sometimes it's 4, 5 or 6. Maybe even 3. But I almost never see stuff like 9 or 10. Thanks for the boost. Quick question. Was Mario Party 1 released before this? Ah, I see. At least Mario's alive in one piece. Imagine if Bowser had a pair of scissors. By the way, I'm really looking forward to playing Bug Fables, but I don't wish to play it until I complete Super Paper Mario. And before that, Thousand-Year-Old Door. I want to see its inspirations first. FF10? And here I thought it was released later. Welcome to Goomba Village. If you don't train, how else will you gain more? If you don't get into danger, how else will you obtain more experience? As always, save often. As always, stay safe, save often. Like I mentioned, for these sorts of RPGs, I really like talking with most of the NPCs. Especially with a game like this, where the world and dialogue has a lot of charm to it. More so compared to most RPGs of the time. Oof, Half-Life 2. To its credit, they're in two different genres. Cammy. For good reason. We lost all of our power from RPG. There goes the fence. We lost all of our power from RPG. Too bad we don't have a Koopa shell or a spring to bounce off of. I'll find out myself in a few years. Excuse me. Make sure to talk with the NPCs several times. He looked down. If he kept looking up, he could have walked back in. Thankfully, he's still made out of paper. Remember to talk with the NPCs several times. Especially after major events. Here is the basic lump, and there is the basic hammer. So make sure to smack all the trees I come across. We're still in the prologue. You can spoil stuff in the prologue, but nothing after that, please. The first of many encounters against him. If there's one thing I wish this game did, it'd be to introduce action commands earlier, such as halfway through the prologue, such as somewhere in the prologue, such as halfway through the prologue. Compared with RPG and later Superstar Saga, it takes the longest to get into the action. It takes the longest to get into the regular action. And until then, it's mostly a simple RPG. And until then, it's mostly a simple RPG. With the added Mario flares and charm. With the added Mario flair and charm. Timed hits. I know them as action commands. Newly added to this game is First Strikes. Self-explanatory. Hit the enemy in the field first, and you'll attack them first. And you'll get a free hit on them. But be careful. Not all kinds of first strikes are handy. Not all first strikes are helpful. See, if I did a jumping first strike on the Spike Goomba, I would have taken damage instead. Is there any reward for tattling all the enemies? Is there any reward for tattling all the enemies? The shards are for bonuses. I'll be on the lookout for them. In which case, outside the first area, I'll avoid tattling most enemies. Besides, in most RPGs I play, I can't see their current HP anyways. I like how this game introduces its combat mechanics. First starting off with the regular Goombas, which you can dispatch either using the jump or hammer, then the spiky Goombas where you're forced to use the hammer, and then the Para Goombas where you're forced to use jumping. This is to demonstrate how both of those moves are useful and mandatory for This is to show how both of those moves are useful and mandatory for progression. Sure. Thanks for the star piece. And the kiss. In short, help out the NPCs with help out the NPCs with their tasks. You'll be rewarded. Perhaps. This won't be a 100% playthrough, by the way. This will most likely not be a 100% playthrough. Nah, I already know how to do it. Two to be exact. 2 FP to be exact. 2 FP to be exact. As usual. Sure, the more the merrier. Our first playable Goomba of the series. And perhaps the entire Mario franchise up until this point. Up to this point. Now we're fine. In this first village, I'll use Goombario's tattle on all of the NPCs. In this first village, I'll use Goombario's tattle on all the NPCs. For the rest of the game, however, I'll refrain from doing it. Go right ahead, Jaden. Don't worry, I will. In the next episode. aka in the stream 5 minutes later. Released on the Switch and PC on the same date. Alright, to equip badges, open the menu, and that's how you do it. Keep in mind there is a BP limit. I'll be tackling the Goombas, Paragoombas, and Spiky Goombas. From this point onwards, I'll start editing out battles. From this point onwards, I'll start editing out battles unless a new enemy or mechanic is introduced, or something else unique happens. From this point onwards, I'll start editing out battles. From this point onwards, I'll start editing out battles unless something new happens in them. Whether a new enemy or mechanic is introduced, or there's a new piece of dialogue. Or there's a new... Whether it be a new enemy or mechanic introduced... Whether it be a new enemy or mechanic introduced... Whether it be a new enemy or mechanic introduced... And new dialogue, or if I level up. We'll see, Jaden. If I'm able to procure a key, we'll see about that. If I'm able to procure a key for it, well, it'll be a bit different. If I'm able to procure a key for it, I may be able to play it sooner. Thanks for the info. The Goomba brothers. I'll title the red one. They have the exact same stats. They have almost the exact same stats. The only difference is that the blue one only has 6 HP. I know what you're referring to, YouTube. Say no more. Get some quick free healing. And save while we're at it. Oh, there's Zen. Ooh. Disguise Goomba. RPG already prepared me for this. RPG already prepared me for this. I'm afraid that may not be possible. I tried using Mupin, but the issue is that I don't have sound. The audio drivers for the emulators simply do not work. The Derpy Goomba King. Hang on for a moment. Let's tackle the little brother. Let's tackle the little brother. See the Goomba tree? If you target it, Easy way to dispatch of both of them. Easy way to dispatch both of them. I'll give Gumbario the final strike. Bye-bye, King. For every level up, I can upgrade my HP, FP, or BP. For my first one, I'm going to be upgrading my BP. Next time, I'll upgrade my FP. You should have hired some better goons. You should have hired some better goons. If you're a beginner to RPGs, sure, go for HP first. But if you played a few RPGs before, go save HP for last. FP and BP are far more important. FP and BP are far more important. FP and BP are far more important in this game. Especially in the sequel, I've heard. I knew it. I knew something was fishy. Thus ends training. Thus ends the prologue, aka training. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I wish it dropped us in the action a bit faster and introduced us to timed hits, aka action commands. I prefer how RPG and Superstar Saga done it. I prefer how RPG and Superstar Saga did it. More towards the latter. Other than that, it was a nice prologue. Especially for its time. Remember, this game was designed for more newbie to intermediate RPG players. hiding it off screen. Cheeky game. Meanwhile, back over here. That'll be handy for flying spinies. Whenever I start to encounter them. At last, after 45 minutes, at last, after half an hour, we've made it back to Toad Town. We've made it back to Toad Town. I'll only do this for this Toad. I wonder what's happening back in Mario's house. Glad to see Luigi made it out safely. He could have just jumped out, too. You could just hire a Toad. You could just hire a Toad, Luigi. He's the Green Thunder. Show him some respect. What about the spirits that are exceptionally malevolent-hearted? What items do I have? I want at least one power block. And a honey syrup. One extra firefly would be nice too. Plenty of space. I suppose this was done to prevent item hoarding. Bowser can be really competent when he puts his mind to it. It's typically his pride which leads to his downfall. He pulled off a similar trick in Galaxy. But there was even far more impressive. Just did. I guess he made up for his failure in RPG. Whenever I see you, I think of another character in Thousand-Year-Old Door. I did, Jaden. I hope it's going to be good as well. I quite enjoyed the demo. Should have invested in a flamethrower. Should have invested in a flamethrower. Or an axe. I hope so. I've been rather wary of demos, especially with all the verticals. I hope so. I've been rather wary of good demos, seeing how many vertical slices there are out there. Seeing how many vertical slices there are out there. I just wanted to talk with you. You four look suspicious. Look at your facial expression. Look at their facial expressions, and compare with the rest of the, and compare them with the rest of the toads. Yeah, that looks like an enemy. When I say vertical slices, I mean, taking the best parts of the games and putting them into a demo. Whereas the rest of the game isn't as good as that. It's like taking the best slice of a cake. Whereas the rest of the cake is somewhat lukewarm. I'm afraid more than a few games from EA, Ubisoft, and many AAA publishers. It's because of them why I don't exactly trust demos. Right to Shooting Star Summit. Sorry to keep you waiting. The other reason is because, well, demos are much shorter than the final games. Sometimes the experience given in the demo Sometimes the same experience showcased in a demo doesn't hold up as much when stretched out. Nonetheless, I like to give the games the benefit of the doubt. Nonetheless, I like to give the games the benefit of the doubt. I wonder what other wishes Bowser's making. Some games are more enjoyable to watch than to play, and vice versa. Not to mention, some games are better to play if you're more skilled with them. The one thing I wish that game should add in the future is a New Game Plus mode. Or a hard mode. Or hard mode. It's so fun to play with the charged abilities. It's so fun to play with the level 3 abilities. Ah, look at the little star. Speedrunners and speedrunners and those who decide to make it harder on themselves. I suppose that's what the expert mods are for. I think Nintendo hit the mark for beginner and expert players, but kinda missed the mark with intermediate players, but kinda missed the mark with many intermediate players. I'm still happy they went back to the 64 and Sunshine formula. I'm still happy they went back to the 64 and Sunshine formula. Ow. Good thing you weren't a star, man. At long last, I now have action commands. No need, I already know how they work. No kidding. It basically doubles our power. It basically doubles our power. It basically doubles our power and defense. If we can execute them properly, that is. If we can execute them properly, that is. It's only a Magic Koopa, not Kamek. Perfect. I got the defense. I timed the defense correctly. Typically, I have a hard time doing defenses. Typically, I have a hard time doing these defenses. Typically, I have a hard time doing guards. Typically, I have a hard time performing guards. I'm trying to temper my expectations with the reality of when it was released, with the reality of when it was released. I still believe that its sequel is better. I still believe its sequel is superior. I forgot to check one thing here. Probably 1 or 2 chapters later. Probably following 1 or 2 chapters. Probably following 1 or 2 Probably following 1 or 2 Probably following 1 or 2 chapters. We tried coming earlier. We tried coming earlier. Several hours later. Gumbari is still awake, by the way. Of course, we have to pay him. We've encountered worse. Please move out of the way. Hang on 1 second. That's better. You shouldn't have had those smug expressions. You should not have had those smug expressions. Probably also should have equipped a Franklin brat. Probably also should have had a Franklin badge. Should have also had a Franklin badge. Sure then. 1 second. Be right back in a minute. Chapter 1: Storming the Cooper Brothers' Fortress. Stay down. I like how the Troopas have those I like how those Troopas have those cool shades. Is this part of the game where they expect you to use action commands? Hence why most enemies have multiples. Hence why most enemies have HPs multiple. Hence why most enemies here have HPs that are multiple. Hence why most enemies here have HPs that are multiples of 2. Hence why most enemies here have HP values that are multiples of 2. Compared with the jump action command, this is fun. The hammer one is far easier to pull off. Oh. Just like I can pull off action Just like how I can pull off action command. Just like how I can pull off first strikes, enemies can do so too. Enemies can do so too. You mean the super guard, Jaden? Yeah, that was an awesome idea. That was an awesome addition. It's like countering in Superstar Saga. It adds more depth to the game. Oh. I didn't notice it in time. Here's what happens if we try bonking on top of a spiked enemy. In the case of our other party members, they simply get stunned. It was only in the sequel where they got their own HP meters. It was only in the sequel where they got their own HP bars. It was only in the sequel where they acquired their own HP bar. It was only in the sequel where they acquired their own HP bars. Where they acquired their own HP meters. I don't want the sleepy sheep. Three of them. I didn't time it right. I have a far harder time pulling off these guards. It's far easier to pull off the timed hits. The mage buff? Go on. Aw. Another Easter egg. I need to visit a shop ASAP. Perhaps. As this is my first time playing, I have no idea about that buff yet. Yeah, I know them from World. Without the shells on, the Koopas look like they're wearing shirts. Nope, not needed. Just checking to see if there are any fuzzies. Just checking to see if there are any fuzzies in there. I will soon. I need to cast aside my item hoarding tendency. I need to cast aside my item hoarding tendency. I need to cast aside my item hoarding tendencies. One thing I really like about this game is how it shows many different Mario. One thing I really like about this game is how it showcases many different Mario enemies. How it showcases many different Mario enemies, but represented positively. But represented positively, or at the very least neutrally. Usually, in almost all the preceding titles, they were simply shown as enemies. They were simply portrayed as enemies to dispatch. They were simply portrayed as enemies to dispatch. I know RPG did something similar, but to a lesser extent. Can't reach that. I know RPG did something similar, but to a far lesser extent. Whereas that game felt somewhat more of a crossover with another franchise, this one feels like it takes place entirely in Mario's world. And does a pretty decent job at world building. To clarify, RPG feels somewhat like a crossover. To clarify, RPG feels somewhat like a crossover. Yeah, I know. I said in a previous episode... Yeah, I know. I said in a previous episode that I'll stop tattling the enemies. I'll probably do it after this chapter is done. I'll likely do it after this chapter is done. I'm still surprised that an RPG of all things became the runner-up of the first gauntlet, became a runner-up of the first gauntlet. And here I thought to be in the back lines. And here I thought to be placed in the back lines. And here I thought to be in the back of the... And here I thought to place in the back of the... And here I thought to place in the back of the pack. And here I thought to place in the back of the pack. It would have won had Cyber Shadow not sniped it. Gotta be sure. There may be some star shards here. I wonder if any other RPGs will stand a chance. I wonder if any other RPGs will stand a chance. I wonder if any other RPGs will stand a chance. Outside the sequel, that is. No, but I stumbled across his writings. Perhaps, Paul. Danganronpa is a visual novel. Danganronpa is a visual novel, though. Cooper joined the party. I knew it. Hang on, let's use PowerShell. If only had multi-bounce. Good. That badge came in handy. I don't believe you for a second. Yes, please, I want more HP. I don't need Hammer Troll. I don't need Dizzy Attack. Huh. Hmm. Is that foreshadowing? Indeed, Jaden. That adds to this game's charm. That adds to this game's charm. And it's one of those games which actually has a good translate. And it's one of those it's one of those RPGs of the time which has a good translation. And it's one of those RPGs of the time which has a good translation. The block can be pushed? Oh, I see now. I thought I needed a new ability. I thought it required a new ability. One coin. I would have preferred a dry shroom instead. I have one spare. Oh yeah, I do want a fire flower. Hang on. Many RPGs of this era had passable translations at best. Still only 1 coin. That'll be handy. Remember him for later. I already heard this. We'll break them out, don't you worry. A few things. Alright then, this is a good time to end out the stream. I'll continue playing this game Sunday morning. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. So I begun the game and made it partway through chapter 1. Good night everyone. See ya.